Welcome to the Everyday Awesome Project, where we bring you inspirational stories and game changing strategies to live your most awesome life. Hey, superstars, welcome back. Polly here.
Oh my goodness. What's up, beautiful human? Sam Pruitt in the house.
Let's go. Let's
You and
go.
I were just like riffing for an hour or whatever it was because we haven't been in connection. I
Mhm.
mean, like this kind of connection. And we got a lot going on.
Yeah.
Okay, because the world is full of opportunities. So, speaking of personal development, that's one of the many opportunities that humans can embark upon. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And in particular, your journey through the Landmark Forum and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And I was calling it a master's degree in personal development. So, to be clear, it's not like your average personal development class
Yeah.
or book or program.
Yeah.
Landmark's been around for what, 40 years?
Yeah. Plus, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, and you found Landmark at what age? Not to put you on the spot with your age, but
Yeah, no, no, it's great because it reminds me. So because it was part of my, if you haven't listened, so this is Lessons in Elite Personal Development, and so what started my personal development journey was the Landmark Forum, and I've talked over the years as like what got me into coaching, what got me out of my 20-year eating disorder, what set me on a trajectory was the body of work that is Landmark, right? And I'm not saying it's better or worse than any other personal development, but it was the start of my journey. It's when I literally became conscious, is how I think. Like it turned the light on inside of me that like, oh, I'm not just this mind. Oh, I'm not just whatever we identify as, right? So it was the start of that, and that was at 34 because I had had an eating disorder from 14 to 34, and I walked out and I didn't have an eating disorder after 20 years. So 34 and I'm 54. So this was 20 years ago now. Yeah. So thank you for the math. Yep. There we go.
there's so many opportunities to wake the hell up to your own life. I mean, literally, someone is knocking on the door most days of the week.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when I say someone, I mean the universe or whatever your belief system is, to wake the fuck up to your life.
Yeah.
And so it's so thrilling for me to know that you boldly did it at such a young age.
Mm.
It did not waste another 20 or 40 years.
Yeah, and I wish they have the landmark and content for teenage or like young adults and stuff like that. I'm like, man, if I knew this stuff, like if I had, right? Like, well, but every path's perfect, right? It was like, okay, that's when I was supposed to do it. And I had to go through all of that nonsense. That was my first, 20 years of adult life to get to that point. And I would never say I didn't want to have that eating disorder because all of that was like part of my story and my journey of, you don't know if you're never hungry, you don't know how good food tastes, right? It's like getting hungry or like being in a desert and then you see an oasis. It's like, wow, like it really has an impression or an impact on your life, right? So it's like I had to go into these places to grow into and learn and rediscover who I am and what I'm capable of and the strength that I have and stuff. So, and
Sometimes you really got to suffer.
so, right.
I'm
And
really good at it also.
your journey
Wow.
with Tara. Yeah, the painted patchwork quilt that we have of ups and downs and lessons learned and me with divorcing and you with couch potato to ultra woman and stuff. There's a lot there, right, so
Yeah, yeah.
and it's lifelong, like,
It's lifelong.
or
But what
that's how.
makes somebody even want to dive into personal development? Suffering.
Yeah,
Okay,
100%.
suffering.
End of suffering. A desire to get to the bottom of, not to wallow, not to stay a victim their whole life, not to
Mhm.
keep repeating old patterns. They're like, why do I keep doing this to myself? Because you keep doing it to yourself. Like you're the one that's doing it, right? And so it's more self-discovery, more awareness. And I'm grateful. I remember this is a little backstory. This isn't exactly what we're going to talk about, but you never know where this is going to go. So here we go. So when I did the Landmark Forum, there's so landmark, like you started to say, is like a body of work, right? It's like a little mini university in personal development that's been around since late 60s, 70s, whatever. And there's different paths that you can follow, kind of like you go to a university and you could study at different schools of business, science, nursing,
Right.
whatever. So I did the Landmark Forum, which is a 3-day weekend. That's like the entree. Anything in Landmark, you start there. It's like the foundation. Then I did something called the Advanced Forum or the Advanced Course, and that like opened my eyes. And I was in the Landmark Forum, I remember sitting next to someone before I started doing all these programs, and some guy was like, "Yeah, I'm retaking it." And I had such breakthroughs. I thought like I was fixed. I was like, "Life is good. I am done," right? And I was like, "Why would you come back?" You know? It was like, and
Yeah.
then I later redid it, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it." Like we go back to sleep, or there's more to work on. Like there's more to unpack in our life, right? And so I've been on a journey, and not like I'm broken or something's wrong with me, but personal development is like I choose to develop and understand myself and be my best self as you do, right? And so whatever that looks like, some people love university degrees, or some people love to be the best athlete in a certain court, whatever. And I'm like, when I work on myself and I invest in myself as you do, is like that brings all of life, like who you become, like it ripples out into so much of your life, right? It's like,
Yeah, well, and we both also love to learn about other things and study other things and all things. But like, can I just can't think of anything more important than understanding this that is me. So I can be really smart and have all these degrees or have all this success or whatever alls, understand other people and how their brains work and all that. Like I'm fascinated in all of that stuff. But if I really don't understand me and am not really fully at peace or fully integrated and awake within this life experience that I'm getting in this one precious body, I mean, it's kind of half-assed,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Like it's perplexing, the potential that exists within each of us, So just being like not to say that you can't, people do life however you do life, right? But I look
Yeah.
at people that their single focus is, let's say, success or this or whatever, but their relationships suck or their health is in the toilet or whatever. It's like living life fully is like looking at all the areas, not just sacrificing everything for this one thing. And personal development for me has been the discovery of who I am to bring all of that into the world. And I'm super fascinated just with consciousness, and
Yeah,
having,
you are.
yeah, having rich relationships, right? Like what makes me better in a relationship or worse in a relationship, or better in communication or worse in communication, or sacrificing, or all these things. And it's been this discovery of me, it's like unpacking who I am and what's, because what I think I didn't realize, and I've realized over time as I've done lots of genres of personal development, Tony Robbins, Harv Eker, studied Wayne Dyer, Abraham Hicks, all this stuff, is I think a lot of teachers would agree, growing up in a society has a conditioning level, right? Like we're very, especially Western world, homogenized and conditioned by the culture, the standards, and you take that to any culture. If you dropped, if I was a baby and I was born in India, I'd grow up with those cultural traditions and be expected to follow those. But then something would awaken in me, and I was like, hey, maybe don't want this, right? And so I think the personal development journey is to awaken to what conditioning did you get, and is that even yours? Like, do you want that? Do you choose that, right? And then not living by default based on the conditioning of your culture, your family upbringing, things that you made up from, mental survival tactics and whatever, and then just understanding how the mind works so that you can choose your life, right? Be a choice. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
And what comes with that is so much peace.
Mm, mm,
And at the end of the day, I can't think of anything more important than me being at peace in this body and in this mind in a very complicated world, you know?
yeah.
It's just a precious gift. I don't have it every day,
Mm.
you know, but I have it a lot. And I'm appreciative that I developed that along the way, like you have developed yourself as well. So we just want to encourage people to explore whatever path they choose. But we're here to talk about this course that you just completed.
Huh? Yeah.
Damn. So
And
you call
it's
it team.
yeah, and it's interesting. We're on this crux, or I step it out of. So just to paint the picture, if you haven't heard any of our previous episodes, I've been in a 12-month. It's called Team Management and Leadership Program, TMLP. We call it Team, if you will, and it actually has a 2-year protocol. Like if I was to continue on the second year, I'm not at this time anyway. But it is a 12-month commitment, 4 quarters or 5 weekends, first weekend, and then 4 additional. And there's I'll just say like a ton that goes on. And the level of commitment where I saw it from the outside, I was like, oh yeah, I'll do those 5 weekends and these once a month and whatever. And then you get inside and then you realize like how much more training is available. And what I've, and I'll start dropping some of the things that I've learned, but every conversation is an opportunity for personal development, for training and development, and it's not like it's just happening in a weekend or in a particular training day where we were having or something. It's like I started to realize, wow, like, so I go and I learn something, like, oh, I discover this technique or understanding of a concept, right? And
Hmm.
then I go into conversation with someone. I was like, oh, this conversation is bringing that understanding, that awareness, and it's everywhere. Like, how many conversations do we have during the day, right? So I just completed that, and what you and I are stepping into, and I'm grateful for you sharing your wisdom out of that you're getting out of the Year to Live program. We're sort of I'm your co-pilot on this as you are in that program. The the path of coming out of team last year and now stepping into this is absolutely blowing my mind. Like,
I was insane.
it's next level, dude. It's so
Right.
next level. Yeah. I mean, one of the things inside of team in that program, TMLP, is they call them global leaders. So there's a body of people who lead these courses and are responsible for TMLP inside of Landmark. And they say that the people in team are their elite body of people in the personal development world, right? So there's just like we talked about in university, you might be studying this, whatever. So a lot of people do other things, and then team is like the culmination. Like a lot of people like, I'll do team at the end because it takes something, right?
Mhm.
And being around this body of people, and I mean, like probably none of them had less than 6 years, if not 8 years, 20 years, whatever, of
Wow.
working
Wow.
on stuff in themselves and like really committed. And it's
It's
just,
like the SEAL team.
yeah, it's,
It's like the SEAL team
and then, and I feel
for
like,
Landmark and for team.
and I feel like stepping into what we've stepped into with A Year to Live, which for you guys who didn't hear any episodes on that, is living a year as if it's your last, is what you and I are up to right now. The overlap and the transition of that into this is just freaking blowing my mind. Like I thought, I was like, man, this landmark shit is like, I'm, discovering so much and ahas and breakthroughs and distinctions for myself and my relationships and who I am. And then putting right in the tail end of that, this Year to Live is like,
Well,
whoa,
they perfectly complement each other, right?
it's
Yeah,
amazing. And
they
I
really
had no
do.
idea, but this is perfect for us. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, so I'm happy to share like, one
So
of the
after 20 years, you re-upped. There was a break in between. So for Landmark specifically,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
went back,
yeah, yeah.
maybe it was less than 20 years, but then you
Approximately.
specifically chose this program,
Mhm.
the leadership and communication program, because
Well, I'll tell you what how this, yeah, let me just tell that little mini story. So a year ago, January, I was invited by a friend of mine that I didn't know was taking any landmark material. I just knew her. I actually knew her through house flipping. And she's like, hey, I'm doing this landmark thing. Do you want to come to this night to hear about it? And I was like, oh my God, I used to do landmark. Yes, I'd love to come hear about it, because she was doing something I hadn't done before. So I go to that and just like hear landmark has very specific language. And once you
Mhm.
hear it, you're like, wow, how do people things that they distinguish and the way that they use language is just mind blowing. That's why I think I've developed my fascination with language over, me, I'm always looking up definitions and stuff. And so she invited me to that and I was like, all right, I got to take something. It has been a hot minute since I've done anything landmark, but I'm so glad to be re-engaged with it. What's the next course? What's available? So I called the center manager and I was like, tell me about, oh, there's this and that. I was like, communication, what's up with that? I was like, so I was like, oh, well, what I wanted to take, so there's a two communication courses, access to power, communication, access to power. I was like, that sounds yummy. And Landmark's always like, feels tricky, but it's not. It's like, there's that name means something. And then power to create. I was like, power to create, get me in that. Oh, you have to take the access to power. I'm like, all right, well, let's do those two. I was like, okay. Oh, great. They're 2 weeks apart. Okay, great. So I'm having all these breakthroughs in February of last year, taking these. And they're like, well, if you want to continue practicing this work, the team management and leadership program is where you spend a year doing that. And I was like, whoa. I was like, I want to spend a year doing that. And so I didn't even, it wasn't like
Didn't
December
even
of,
hesitate.
yeah, yeah. I was like, okay, because I want to. So they say if you do team, you will have these distinctions that they have in the communication course become a natural part of who you are. Because you do it so much. Like all these conversations, and you're just surrounded by other people who are in it, right? So they're listening for you. Like at every conversation, like they would, call you on, like, hey, did you notice that in what you're doing?
It reminds me of being like in a master's program or something like that. Because to be clear, you're still working, you're out in the world, you're having your normal life. You didn't like all of a sudden, drop out of life and go live somewhere in an ashram and like participate in this thing and be isolated from the world.
Mhm.
The world and the everyday activity of said world and responsibilities was homework, basically.
Yeah.
So every day you had homework based on,
Send me off, like I have a huddle with my coach once a
yep.
week, and then once a month we have this train, whatever. And then I'm out in the world fumbling around, breakdowns, whatever.
Exactly.
Go huddle with my coach and like, this is how it went. And like, learn something. Okay, go back at it, whatever. So it's just like that. It's like, yeah, like if you were, well, I was gonna say if you're Tiger Woods and you work with your coach to get a better swing, but Tiger's only doing that. But this was like, my work was life, and it was like having somebody in the background of my life helping me with my relationships, my communication, my who I am, discovering all these things. It was fascinating. Yeah, you're right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. It's
So you've completed the year and you just had last weekend like a closure program. Okay.
yeah. So we had part of the program is every quarter they have a weekend event. So it's a Saturday and Sunday all day long training.
Mm,
And so you start the year-long program in a weekend, you have four more, and then you finish. So you have five total weekends. So this past weekend was my completion weekend. And beautiful ceremony and just all this acknowledgement and like what did you get out of it? And just hearing the other people and so, and this is North America. So I was in this program loosely with people from Canada to Latin America. So
okay.
we would show up on these weekends, we would show up on these training calls once a month, and I would see people in different regions that weren't specifically on my team. Like my team was West Southwest, which is, the Arizona, California, generally speaking,
Yep. Yep.
30, 35 of us. So I knew them intimately. They were like lots of conversations, lots of meetings with them, but I also was aware and would see the growth of the people that, they were on Team Canada, for example, and like seeing them when I started and they started, and then who they became over the year. I could almost see more growth, or
Mhm.
I'm sure there was growth here too, but I would like see it. I was like, wow, that person, look how they've evolved. I'm like, okay, well, I'm looking in a mirror here. Must have had some growth over here too. It's remarkable. Yeah.
And that's part of the reward of personal development work too, is being in community. People will reflect back at you and you will see things and learn through that connection, that human connection, and through that community,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Just as much as you will learn personally.
Yeah.
Like that process is also important. A good coaching, good community, like-minded people, and really an overall elevation of everyone at the table.
Yeah, and I think a little, well, I think you can liken that. Like, I was like, is this like university? But there's something, I think what, at least how I've approached personal development, if I'm trying to see if this is true, is it's like a team sport. It's like you don't, like, yeah, you're growing on yourself, but usually like when I did my Tony Robbins work, I had a team, like I created it, I created a community and we did, every 2 weeks we'd get together, so it wasn't like, because, it's sort of like you can go learn a skill. Like, let's say you go to a weekend painting workshop or whatever, but if you're not painting and you're not like getting together with people and like checking each other's
With
paint,
other painters.
but they're the painters, then it's
Yeah.
like you're sort of like la la la, but like get in a group of painters, get in a book study club or a book writers club or whatever, artists, musicians, like hang out with them. Like you're gonna like be talking about that a lot, and it really makes a difference. So yeah.
Yeah, and being in shared energy. So let's start digging into some of the things that you learned. I know I'm sure we could never touch bases on all of them,
Yeah, yeah.
but do you have like, I don't know, a top five takeaway
Um,
or what do you got?
yeah, I would say I think I want to start with some of the high level, just like
Okay.
whoa, like what it was like what are some of the bigger ones? one of the things this is a little hard to recreate, but one of the last things I got out of this last weekend was the difference between accomplishment and results.
Oh.
And I was like, what is the
Oh.
difference between accomplishment and result, right? And so one of the
Okay.
things that and I say, I don't know, one of the definitions or how a landmark defines accomplishment is it arises out of the way you're being. So an accomplishment is it's a little bit like your attitude or what you bring to something or like who you be as you pursue something, right? Um, so result is what shows up and what gets done. Like you can have a result, but like who you be is not necessarily the same, right? So like your accomplishment is who are you out to be and fulfill on, and what got done are different, right? So we don't blend the two. It's like this is the result. X happened, Y happened, Z didn't happen. Okay, great. But like, did you accomplish something? Like, did you learn? Did you grow? Did you achieve what you set out to, right? And were you intentional? So like what got accomplished can be very different from the results that were produced because it's internal, external, right?
And many times you don't have control over all the results,
Yeah.
and people attach their identity to the results mistakenly and will easily become derailed because the results aren't happening, or tell themselves a story about I'm unworthy or whatever all drama they might tell themselves, which, the point is, who is the person while you are achieving, accomplishing?
Yeah.
The person doing the action, that's a verb. Okay, that's a being verbing.
Yes. Yeah. It's like you can have a failed result. I didn't achieve X, but you could be fucking accomplished because how you grew, like you might have set the bar so damn high for yourself that your
Yeah.
result was like, you'll never, like last quarter, I was like 500 people enrolled in my thing. I was like, that wasn't my result, but like I accomplished so much, how I grew and like on the path towards that. So
Mhm.
that was just one of the clarifying, it's like not attaching ourselves to result. Yes, pursue result, like, but
Sure.
and definitely one of the beautiful things, and I agree with, and I know this from business, and you do too, is like what gets measured gets managed, right? So that's part of the management thing is like, don't you need results that show up in numbers? You need results that you can quantify, you can discuss or whatever. And accomplishment is looking at the whole picture as well, right? So like,
Mhm.
what were you out to cause? What were you out to grow in and develop yourself in? Or
Yeah, because some people produce results and they're horrible people, and how they generated those results are despicable,
mm,
right? And so, why would we want it? Can't be about results. It has to be about the process, right?
yeah,
It has to be about it. And
mm,
also, there's so many opportunities for us to just give up if
yeah,
we're solely focused on results. If I'm going to run 100 miles, I don't want to be thinking about at the starting line, or even actually, 9 months earlier when I'm putting my training program together. I'm going to run 100 miles. Fuck it. I forget about it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
totally.
so you won't start a lot of things. So, yeah, you just need to stay focused
Yeah.
on you being your best self, delivering
Mm-hmm.
the freaking goods, which is
Mm-hmm.
who you are and who
Mm-hmm.
you've always been. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it can get distracting when we focus on just the tangible results.
Yeah, and I think one of the other high level things, and we touched upon this a little bit as we were leading up to this, is the people you get to hang around with, and like I just like on that last weekend, and just seeing people, it was a big Zoom meeting, right? And just seeing people that I've known intimately on my team, and then a little distantly in Canada or East Coast or whatever, and seeing the arc of their progress and like how they're talking and the results of like the things they accomplished through the year. I was like, wow, wow, just like
Mhm,
in awe of the human potential and the human spirit, and like
mhm,
seeing what people can get up to in a year, and
mhm.
like some people just like last year, like, so how was your year? It just like flip the page,
Yeah,
right? Like,
because they were buying time on their life.
yeah, yeah. And like the amount of weekends and nights. And I mean, like I had, what are there, maybe 52 Friday nights in a year. And last year I probably had 6 of them on my own, maybe 8 that I wasn't. doing something with the team, and
Uh-huh.
so it takes something, but I have accomplished a lot. I have a lot, and with those people, that are all so into it, it's remarkable. It's like Olympics of personal development, when you're around those people and the commitment they have and it's like iron sharpens iron, like you're just around people who help you sharpen your saw and you theirs.
Exactly. Well, that's a good comparison. You said the Olympics. So think about being in the Olympic Village.
Mm.
Okay, you are with the best of the best globally,
Wonderful.
globally. So this is that on a personal development scale.
Mhm.
Okay, you're literally in the personal development Olympic Village, hanging out, eating, rubbing elbows, working out, whatever you're all doing, waiting for the big day,
Yeah,
working
Team
towards your
USA.
goal.
Team USA. Yeah, I'm part of.
Exactly.
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 Yeah.
And
So,
who doesn't want to be around that? People underestimate the value of who they are surrounding themselves with.
mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
Obviously, you will drop to the lower level if you're around the wrong people or the wrong people. Everybody kind of has awareness around that. But how elevated you will become around the right people
Yeah.
is even more powerful.
What they will hold you
Tremendous.
to and what you will hold, you will learn and develop yourself to hold them to, right? And what
Mhm.
you will see them achieve and you will want for yourself and, like what they'll reflect back to you and what they'll sharpen you with, and all of that. And it's just, it's magical, it's really magical. And don't sell ourselves short. Like whatever, you don't have to do landmark, get into something, get into
Yeah.
something that grows you because of who you'll discover yourself as and the contribution you can be and you can be contributed to. It's remarkable. So
Hmm.
yeah. I want to touch on a couple of the yummy things that are just uniquely landmark in those courses, and so these courses, the communication courses, the Access to Power and Power to Create, happen throughout the year,
Okay.
multiple times throughout the year, all over the world, so, and Zoom, so you can do them in Australia, you can, whatever. So some of the really cool assignments or core things that I took away, and my number one thing I would say, I think it was the Access to Power, like the core, I don't know, just bumper sticker for me is having love and affinity present in all of one's relationships.
Mm. What does that mean to you?
Right. Well, I ask people, what does that mean to you? But like,
Mhm.
if I told you a year ago, was I living as if love and affinity was like a core covenant inside my body and all my relationships? I would be lying.
Mm. Mm.
But I'm present to it now. Like, I mean, in big and small ways. It's so funny. Like, what I say for the last 20 years, I've known consciousness, meaning I know that we're all love. I know that we're all one. I know, like, and in these courses, in weird ways, not necessarily like linearly that you discover this, but I mean, it's surprisingly spiritual, this stuff,
Mm.
I mean,
Mm.
it's communication courses, but it's surprisingly like in the background, you're like, well, if that's true,
Mhm.
and so they, like, you discover, like we're all the same, like we're all human and we're all one spirit energy, right? So what
Mhm.
I do to you, I'm doing to myself, right?
Mhm.
And so if
Mhm.
I am talking rudely to a waiter in the restaurant, or if I'm dismissing someone at the airport, or if I'm insulting someone or bad emails, I'm like, wait a minute, that's
Mm.
me over there. That's my
Mm.
brother, that's my sister, that's one energy. Like,
Mm.
it's no longer okay.
Mm. That's intense because if you think about how many hundreds a day, thousands a week, etc., connections we have with another living being,
So many touches.
uh-huh, uh-huh, if you see them as a reflection back on you as humanity, as part of the one,
Hmm.
then oh, well, of course, we'd have a completely different world than apparently we're living in at this moment, but it allows you at least the freedom to feel that. And you get to choose in this environment and in this commitment you've made to yourself and to living this kind of life. to operate from that place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that alone is worth everything, right?
Talk about a core value adjustment. Like,
Ooh,
well,
yeah.
I'll tell you, so my core, love and connection is my number two value. Health being, because without health, then I'm dead. And, the hell with love if you're dead, right? But like loving, like just having that imprinted on having discovered that love and affinity in all of one's relations, not necessarily close relationship, but like relation. We relate to anyone, anywhere, like the harsh things people say on the internet to one another, right? Or just even sending ill will to a person because they're not in your same political party or they're, doing wrong in the planet. It's like the amount of perspective, especially as we step into this year to live, right?
Mhm.
Adding those two together, so profound. It's like, would I want to spend the next year, if it's my last,
Mhm.
hurting, insulting, leaving any ill will?
Mhm.
It's so remarkable to think, like, wow, every touch, and if you know me and my NDEs, right? Near death experience studies. So a lot of them go through this process where they relive their life. They get their year review or their life in review. And oftentimes what that experience is not just from their perspective, like, oh, in this relationship and how that, traumatic event went or whatever, that argument that they had, but they often get it from the perspective of the person that they're with, right? And like, what impact did that have? Like their judgment or insult, or if they were bullying someone, like, what was the impact over there? And it's like, you get to see what it's like. So, like, a year to live, this is, you and I as an expression of human spirit.
Mhm.
Do we want to, how do we want to treat people? Because we're treating that of ourselves, right? Just because they take a
Exactly.
different form and a different shape. So that's like this. I don't even know how to package that and explain that to somebody,
And I would even double click on, I was just having this experience today. That's why it's fresh top of radar. But all these little touch points that you have throughout the day that are just almost non existent. And they can be non existent if you don't make eye contact or
Yeah.
make connection with the other human in passing or whatever the dynamic is. Sure, it can be the barista or I'm checking out the grocery store and someone's talking on their phone. They're not even acknowledging the person working who is checking their groceries and packing, like that kind of disregard for the human there. Or like today, I was on a trail going up and down this big ass mountain and it was hard. First of all, it's freaking hot here and I'm climbing this big mountain. But there was plenty of other people out there with the same crazy idea as me, right? So we're trudging up this mountain and everybody's huffing and puffing or whatever. And I could have just put my head down and got in the grind and been focused about doing it, a couple minutes faster or whatever my drama might have been for that moment. But I was like, well, look at all these people. And I was like, I need to acknowledge every single one of these people
Mm.
who is out here today working to improve their health and fitness. Otherwise, they're not climbing this damn mountain in 80-degree heat. They're just not. Okay. Those people are on the couch or still in bed. And just like a small acknowledgement of my fellow humans on the trail or whatever environment you can think of that we're all in every day, all day long.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
leverage those. So
Yes.
now for you, you go into this not just in all of your relationships with friends and family, etc., coworkers, but like the world. Whoa,
Yeah.
look at that beautiful human right there. Like it's remarkable to me what people, yeah.
You
I
know,
just,
and,
yeah, I can't say enough about that. That's got to be the biggest takeaway,
so,
right?
and seeing it in the relationship with the work that I do and the teams that I interact with, and in the past, I definitely have a high expectation, me and my standards and stuff like that. And so if somebody's like effing up or, oh, what did they do that for? And how I would deliver or consider the communication to them,
Mm,
let's just say it's different. Like I have no battle or bone to pick or whatever that's going to leave them less than. Like
Yeah.
whatever is processing in my mind is how do I uplift them? How do I make them better after this? How do I create this communication and engage in this communication? Not like you're wrong, you effed up. I don't want to, I want them to grow. Like maybe they need like a clear, this wasn't right and this, but they're not less than after it. Is that making sense?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
that was profound. Because in the past or how I've operated, that paradigm wasn't there. That like I would just be like, get work done. Like get out of my way. Like let's get some work done. And if you're not going to do it, get out of the way and I'll find somebody who will. I'm not quite that, but definitely
Yeah.
not with the sense of like humanity that I have now and
Hmm.
care for my fellow human, like, and maybe they're not right for that role. Like, okay, like let's just be clear, but it's not because I'm gonna hurt you. Like I'm not out to hurt you. I'm
Yeah.
out to like, hey, if this isn't gonna work, it's just not gonna work. Go somewhere where it's gonna work or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was, yeah, I didn't realize as I was gonna create that for you, how big that was. But yeah, I was just gonna say like, man, love and affinity in all one's relations is a powerful way to live.
It's really hard not to, in the world that we live in now and in the environment we're in, not to go around judging yourself and others.
Yeah.
And it's this separateness that has us do that. I don't want to be less than. I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to be, in fear. I don't want to, whatever, all the things that we do, right? And so it creates these dysfunctional dynamics, even with people that we love and adore. It creates those kind of dynamics on a good day when we're on our best behavior.
No doubt. No
So,
doubt.
how are you going to remember to do this? I'm so curious. These things, these incredible lessons
Yeah.
that you have brought into your being after a whole year, they're integrated. Okay. Like I got to tattoo shit on my arm because I can't remember things. Okay. I got to start writing stuff over here next. I don't know. Because
Mhm.
like it's hard to remember on the daily sometimes
Mhm.
where we really want to be coming from.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
have little notes as I walk out the door, as I walk in my door, like, I have these little things around to like, oh yeah, remind me.
Yeah, and this isn't to say like this isn't that I'm perfect now. Like ding, I'm done.
No,
Like I'm
no,
never like
no.
I'm never gonna upset somebody. I'm never gonna forget to be loving and kind. I'm never, like no, there will be, but I'm aware of it. Like I'll know. Like no, it's like when you know your core value and you go against it or you consider going against it, you're like, oh no, I'm not okay doing that, right? So it's that level of training, that level of, recognizing this, like it's very hyper aware, if you will, right? But there's
I
always,
would say you feel it in your body.
yeah,
Like now that you have this level of integration and awareness, you will feel it instantly in your own energy. And then even in the connective energy with the other human or the environment or whatever you're in, it'll be like, it'll just be there. And you'll be like, whoa, pause,
yeah,
take a breath.
yeah. I can see this
Oh,
person, like I'm diminishing something about this person, or I can feel the energy, all of that. Yeah, and it's amazing, even though it's a communication course. Well, communication is what 90 something percent nonverbal, of course, but
yeah.
um, yeah. But a lot of the communication courses are verbal, like they're teaching you, like, oh, notice what's in your listening, notice what you're saying, la la la. But I will tell you, the awareness of the, the dynamic, the energetic transmission or communication, energy,
Mhm.
the presence of that, like that's sort of like going on in the background, you might say, even though
Mhm.
what's being spoken or listened and stuff is coming through words, a whole nother dynamic is happening in the energetic transmission.
Mhm.
So it's really good. Yeah. Okay. So, there's some things here that they're just sort of big things to try and explain. This goes, the next one, like this concept, they call it your words creating your world.
Mm.
Words creating your world, which, if you listen to anything like manifesting and,
Mhm.
law of attraction and all this stuff, um, it's quite remarkable how little people pay attention to their words. And in this program we call it how they listen themselves, how they see themselves. You might like you hear that one more often. Like how we listen others and how we listen ourselves is the landmark language, which kind of translates to the way I interpret you, like the things I tell my, like in Tony Robbins, I might have said like the story I have about this person or the story I have about myself, like I'm not capable or, like those types of things. And when words create your world, like what you're speaking is literally you're speaking it into existence. And the paradigm that we're trained in from upbringing and survival mind and stuff like that is the world creates me, the world creates my experience, right? So a lot of people live as if, I hear this in the words, so and so made me feel. He made me feel nervous or less than or whatever. It's like, nope, it's actually not how it's happening. It's actually not how it's happening. It's I'm
Surprise.
Yeah, right?
Mhm.
And so what are my words creating about this experience? Because there's just what's so out here. Like that's just what happened or so and so that those words came out of that person's mouth. But what you're saying about it, right? The words that you speak about that or your thoughts, the story you might tell yourself, that's creating the world that you're living in and how you're responding to it, right? And a lot of the communication courses themselves is teaching something where they say like notice what's in your listening and drop it, or like notice what paradigm or the thought you have or the story you're telling yourself about the situation, because you're responding to that, like the
Mm.
meaning that you're making up about, like he made me feel bad. No, what you told yourself made you feel bad. Like
Yeah.
you saying that that person insulted you, that's where the dynamic actually exists, the words that you're using to create the story of what happened, right?
And how many times you walk into a room, a conversation, an email, a text, whatever, already contriving in your head about what's going to happen. I'm going to say this and they're going to say that and da 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 da. And you basically are just, it's like walking on stage, creating the play. You're just literally now you're just an actor in the play and
Mm-hmm.
just letting it all sort of play out as
Mm-hmm.
you've contrived in your head,
Yeah.
right? Rather than just showing up with no intention, with an openness, and then listening
Yeah.
and being able to respond or partake in whatever the communication is
Mm.
in a completely different way from a different place, really.
Yeah, this is where the fine tuning of landmark language is hard to quite translate, but they call it coming from nothing, right?
Mm.
And it's difficult for a human being to come from nothing, right? Because guess what? We have a thought. Boom, you're in a paradigm. You're already like,
Even when I'm asleep, I couldn't do it.
I know.
I would come from my weird dreams. Ah!
Yeah, so it's training. Like we got a lot of training and like coming from, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but like noticing, like notice what's there. Okay, like if I have an agitation or if I have some feeling in my body, either during the interaction or leading up to it, like this was showing up for me quite a bit when let's just call it, I had to do cold calling, right? Like I wanted to invite people to my event and I had to call them, right? People maybe I hadn't talked to well. All this stuff about like what are they gonna say and I was like, I had to get to nothing and just be like, just call, just making a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna go have a communication with somebody, right?
Yeah.
Like, whoa, it's pretty incredible. So like noticing what's in your listening and then giving it up because and how much gets effed up in communication when it's not verbal, like texting, emails, like hearsay, all that stuff. Dude, all I can say is I get on the phone way more. Like, oh, like I was coaching a gal this morning and she's like, yeah. So she had to let someone go and I think she did it by email or something, like a text and an email. And I was like, so have you, and she's
Okay.
like, well, I don't know, he hasn't responded. I was like, well, have you had a conversation with him? No, actually, I have. Get on the phone and clear some stuff up. Like all this, like drifting stuff that lives in nowhere land, right? Because it's not clear, done, committed, decided, finished, whatever. Like if it's not,
It does live on as a burden.
mm,
It's such a huge
like,
mental and emotional burden. Yeah, we just keep throwing stuff in the bag and
mhm.
putting it over our shoulder. Well, we'll just see if that resolves itself later.
Exactly, exactly.
What the hell?
The split, like the part of the start of the courses is like, where in your life, like you have to make this list of like who in your life did you used to have love and affinity with, and you don't now. And you're
Oopsie.
like, oh shit, like all these
Oopsie.
like unended relationships that are just sort of like in like, why haven't you talked to them? Oh, well, we had this little falling out, or I haven't talked to them in years about this. And it's like, okay, well, sort that shit out, like
Yeah.
get some clarity, even if it's, yeah, we agree to disagree or whatever. And it was remarkable the comebacks of people bringing people back into their life where they thought it had ended. Like somebody got
Wow.
their dad back, got their sister back, recreated this whole, it was just like
Mm.
amazing. I mean, like this one gal was on a quest to find a family. So she was looking for her, she was a foster child and, a lot of all this dramatic stuff happened as a child. And, her she got separated from her brother, natural born brother, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna go on a quest to find her brother. So still hasn't found him. This was like, like looking for
Yeah.
him, whatever, genealogy, having people help her and stuff. Comes to find her mom, makes contact with her mom, has a phone call. Her mom flies out. She hasn't seen her since she was given up for whatever. Her mom wants to have a relationship with her because she went on this journey to recreate some. I was like, I mean, and there's like all sorts of that happens in this part. Not to say that like you have to do that, but man, we're like we have these half started relationship or, and I've reached out to a few, like one person that, kind of cut me out of their life. And so I've done some outreach trying to and just see if that person wants to, but I'm complete over here,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but how many incompletions do we have in our life? That God,
Yeah.
where is it weighing on us?
Exactly. You're not doing it with an expectation of how it's going to go. You're doing it to get complete within yourself,
Yeah.
to be clear. So,
Yeah.
by the way, when you're doing a year to live, you can leave unfinished business.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Handled.
Yeah.
All those things handled.
Totally. Who are the
Yep.
people, like part of the homework I think you have is like, who are the people you would, if you had 6 weeks to live, who would be on your list to like get complete with, right? Like, okay, well, talk to those people, and this isn't the same dynamic, but it's like, where is love and affinity not present in your relationships? Where are you strained or where are you holding on to something or they're holding on to something? Like, come to nothing from the conversation, see what needs, and I'm not going to go too much into this because this would be a whole dynamic, but one of the most powerful tools that they teach is something they call it recreation, but it's sort of like empathetic listening, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
getting out. So they teach how much they call it the already always paradigm for communication, which is all this programming shit that we have and how we get built over time that has us look at the world as one of the paradigms is we have it that communication comes as a threat.
Mm-hmm.
All communication, not even kidding. Communication comes as a threat, and we're like dodging it, or what do I have to do here? So, what that leads to is justifying, protecting, controlling, convincing, fixing, all this maneuvering, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
that we like
Defensive tactics.
armor up with. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. We armor up with all this stuff. And it's like if you just come from nothing and you just want love and affinity present, you go over there, you be with that person, and whatever upset is there for them, it's pretty remarkable. It's hard to explain how it works, but when that person gets gotten, when they really feel seen and heard,
Mm-hmm.
it's like a dissolving inside of them. Like they don't have to hold on to it anymore because it got received by another person. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, that's how you've been feeling. Okay. Even if you don't agree with it, whatever, but you get out of you and you go over there and you get in what's over them because we're all one, right? It's like, oh wow, I didn't get that that's how that left you or whatever. And it's amazing where I'm so grateful to have this tool now because it's so valuable, so available.
Well, and it's not a tool, it's a whole toolbox
Yeah,
of.
yeah. I mean, it's a
Yep.
distinction we call it. Yeah, a
Yep.
distinction called recreation, which is a way of being with people that doesn't have us in this paradigm of like the communication is a threat. Like even if it's like somebody that you have disagreements with often. It's like you set yours down and go, "What's up over there?" So I can understand you. You, Miss Diplomat, you're the most diplomatic person I know because you go and get in other
Some
people's
days,
words. You get in other people's worlds and you understand, like,
even though I want to wring a lot of necks, I do. But yes, I try to make that happen on a regular
yeah,
basis.
because you allow yourself to go and get in their perspective. Like, what? how are they seeing things? Like, oh, if that were happening to me and I saw it through that way, okay, I get it. I get it.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a lot of these are Buddhist philosophies, you know, you like compassion, all these things are coming up when you're talking. I'm thinking of all these, you know,
Totally.
like the meta, unconditional, you know, all the different things. Here's the thing. Let's circle back on this personal development and the call to action around
Mm.
really telling anyone who will listen to us, because we're sold on it, obviously. There's so many different types of personal development, right? But at the core of it, and when I say that, I mean like genres of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
types, flavors.
Energy,
Yeah,
body, body. Yeah. Yeah.
totally. So,
Psychedelics, whatever.
but it at the root of all of it is the human
Yeah.
wanting to be on the path. So when you talk about your awakening at that age, that young age that you were when in the first landmark experience you had, and I think of like I had a series of awakenings as a young person, then a young adult. Like how I felt about it in my experiences, once I woke up, I couldn't go back to sleep. I couldn't stop seeing it. I couldn't stop hearing it. I couldn't stop continuing on the path
Mhm.
over the entire course of the rest of my life up until this age. But sometimes I'm doing it very slowly or I'm taking a break. Sometimes I'm doing it more aggressively. You know what I'm saying? And in different types of personal development, depending on just kind of where I'm at and what is speaking to me. But for the person who maybe is new to this
Mhm.
and hasn't woken up yet, that's one thing. But I feel like anyone who gets this podcast into their ears is already awake. So there's no not knowing now
Mhm.
that where you are going is an actual direction that you can be in charge of,
Mhm.
right? Taking ownership of your life, taking agency over your life.
Mhm.
And how could they best explore what kind of personal development might be good for them? Or how can they sort of seek this out without sending them in one direction or the other? Like, where do you even get started?
Mm. One of the first things that comes up for me is I want to say, like, who do you admire? Like, are there people in your life that,
Not idolize and not
yeah,
stalk on social media. You mean really, who do you respect?
yeah,
Who
like you,
do you respect?
like for example, if I was having shitty relationships with men or something like that, right? And I was like, man, I really want to be in a good partnership and relationship. I would look to the women in my life that are having good relationships, and I'd be like, I admire how you are with your spouse, like I stayed with a friend of one of my teammates down in LA. His relationship with his wife was remarkable. I mean, they
Mm,
were remarkable people. Like, you know it when you're around it, right?
mhm.
He did S like in the 60s or
Ah,
whatever. Yeah. So
yeah.
he's like a baby, right?
Mhm.
La la la. And I was just like, you just know when you're in the presence of some remarkable people, right? So it's like, what are you doing over there? Like how'd you get that way? Or, just like ask them for their either life lessons or what have they found along their path? Like you and I, some of my fascination with tarot or crystals or, sound and near death or whatever. It's like, who's doing that stuff? Look around and maybe your friends have done some of it, or you can find just a journey, like just go down a little road to see what interests you. And I promise you, if you have your heart's in the right place, like you'll find it, like you'll come across it, just like we've gone around the world and doing the things and you walk into a totally new town and all of a sudden you meet like the most amazing people. You're like, yeah, well, because they're everywhere, right? So if your heart's in the place, like, man, I really want to learn this or study this or grow in this, or just like I said, looking at remarkable people in your life, and then how'd you get to be so remarkable? And I tell you, you just scratch a little bit of the surface. There's probably some personal development they've done, and they've gotten up to something, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. And if there's a values alignment, you know, if the way they're living their life speaks to you, to your value system, it resonates, there's a shared resonance vibration there, then go after that conversation and find out like how did you become the person that you are, or what is the path that you're on now? You know, I mean, obviously I'm studying Buddhism for last year and I'm doing this now, your live course, but people will ask me, and I'm sure they ask you
Yeah.
about Landmark. Like, what are the things you're up to right now? Because you seem very curious and full of life, and like you're on a path doing something over there.
Hmm.
What are you
Hmm.
doing?
Right.
Just be ask people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
You know?
think it would be an honoring conversation for that person. Like you would
Mhm.
be like, wow, I really honor you and acknowledge you. Like, I just think you're crushing it over there in this whatever, and I want to grow in that area. Just like if it was a skill, like if you met somebody that's a really good cook and you're like, wow, how'd you get to be such a good cook? They'd probably be honored to hear that you thought that about them. And then B,
Yeah.
they'd probably be more than happy to tell you what they've learned and how they got like, oh, I read this cookbook or I studied this class or I followed this or I got some coaching over here, whatever that looks like. So
Yeah. People who are into personal development do not subscribe to a scarcity model,
yeah.
okay, of happiness and love and joy and satisfaction and curiosity. There's no scare. Yeah, exactly. We
Sprinkle it
we're
everywhere.
about the pixie dust, okay, people, and it just keeps raining down.
Totally, totally. And 10 to 1, if you're listening to any podcast like ours or any out there, those people, they spill it. They'll end the conversation, they're talking about where they got it somehow. Like, oh, like I've studied Buddhism for the last year. Okay, Buddhism. That's interesting. What I could learn from over there, right? Or
Yeah.
me with the near-death experiences. That's opened my eyes. Or I'm an Abraham Hicks fan or Wayne Dyer, whatever, landmark. So it's like lots to choose from. I've just been at this for a while, but I think, you don't have to scratch very far inside of a life that's being well lived or somebody that you seem to admire or has a trait or something about them that they seem to be modeling or something that you could learn from and see how they got it.
You know what? A big thing that just popped up for me when you were describing all that is not being resistant. I'm speaking to myself and about myself now, or closed off to new things. So I'll just speak like from an athletic vantage point in my health and fitness goals, have continued to evolve. And then I got injured and then I had to come back from that. And, I'm postmenopausal, whatever. So things keep changing. I'm still an athlete, but how I do my athletics now and set my fitness and athletic and adventure goals are different.
Mm,
And so I need to be open to and have been exploring other options, other opportunities, other possibilities, other science, other experts, other people to inspire me
mm,
to continue on the path,
mm,
right? But if I had been closed off and kind of hunkered down in this good enough,
mm, mm,
or I'm the expert of, or whatever all story I might have told myself, which was a bunch of bullshit, I would not be able to continue very long on the path that I'm on.
yeah.
I would be setting myself up for closure, shrinking, a retraction rather than a growth mindset.
Yeah, I would say two things. One, never settle, and two,
Never,
get curious.
never.
Yeah, like you could have, yeah, I mean, you could not have settled for the pain that you were in, right? But like,
Right.
however if you're bumping up against whatever, right? Relationship, health, money, whatever, like never settle, and then get curious, like, oh, I wonder what, right? And just look for mentors, lessons, guides out there, right? So, and
Mhm.
one of the things I thought when you were saying like all this work that, we've discovered, it's like, and all the teachings and whatever, but it's like life brings it to us, like the lessons we're meant to get. Like, it's just more of life showing up and there's like, what's there discovering this, pile of shit, or, what
Yeah,
this
you
is,
thought you had that figured out?
yeah, a lot.
Psych.
Totally, totally. And so whether you're in a life's good and I want to grow, or man, I'm suffering or I'm stuck or I've, hit a plateau or things aren't working, right? Sufferfest, whatever this level that is, don't settle for it, right? Like what's possible? And then get curious. Like, who's got some answers here? And no, one of the huge things that I don't even know how to say translate this to people who aren't in it, but like inside of team, one of our covenants is always be in communication. Always be in communication. So how that like how that would show up. A, our minds want to keep us small and like over here and smallism and
Separate
withdrawal
from.
and all that stuff, right? Like, so if you're feeling that, like, be and communicate, like, get out of it, and even communicate that I'm wanting to be out of communication, right? Like, hey, my mind's telling me like I'm done or whatever. And like just being in communication, we get so much from the transference and the listening and like we're hearing ourselves speak and stuff. So I don't know who you have in your life, and if you don't, like, start attracting it and getting, but like, I think one of the greatest um, tragedies that we're seeing is how many people are on a phone, in a text world, in a trapped in a world that is not in communication, and it's creating huge swaths of all sorts of not goodness, whatever you want to call it, but
Silos, isolation. Yeah.
so being in communication, we have therapists to go to or coaches or whatever, but like just talking to the people in your life instead of a text message, or you're too busy for this, or your children or your spouse or whatever. Like, I can't stress enough, like, be in communication. It's remarkable, just that alone, what you discover. Like, like, hey, I'm wanting to pull away, or hey, I'm not doing good over here, or whatever. And like, let people support you in that. And it
Swoop
makes a difference of who you have in your life, of course. I'm not saying like talk to everybody about your communication, but like have quality people in your life that, like, if I mean, I've called you times when I'm just like in a doldrum, even
Yeah,
us
that's what we
coaches.
do.
Yeah,
We call each other.
yeah,
What the hell? Talk me off the ledge.
yeah,
Ah.
yeah. So those are I hope I've transferred some of what I got out of this, and there's more, and I'm still going to be unpacking it. And you and I on this journey of a year to live, I can't wait for us to continue to unpack that on top of this. Like, you guys, it's blowing my mind each week. And I'm not even in, like, you're in the program and have your weekly meetings and stuff like that, but just listening to the books, the audiobooks, and the awareness of like I'm telling people like I'm in this program Year to Live. It's blowing my mind, and having that communication keeps it
Mhm.
alive for me. So
And they go, what? Who would want that as a consideration? Yes.
I'm telling you, like, it's the next, yeah. Everybody needs to do that, of course, too.
It kind of does make me want to run off to the mountains. And I'm going to do that a little bit, but I can't do it 100%.
Yeah, yeah. So, oh, this has
Okay, lady, this
been
was
yummy.
good. Thanks for
Great.
sharing all of that. Appreciate
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I think my one point, if I summed all this up, is well, I think I have two. One is like surround yourself with beautiful souls, right? And all souls are beautiful, and people that sharpen your saw, and iron sharpens iron type of thing. And I think that last thing, like, be in communication. Like so much of life can be sorted out, worked out, whatever's going on in your mind, fears, doubts, upsets, be in communication. So those are my two. So, all right. What do we want to close with, my dear?
We want to remind people the huge how your life feels is more important than how it looks.
Yeah. And every day is your opportunity to find your awesome.
See you next week.